Good afternoon once more, Amanda. Good afternoon, Valencia, and good afternoon, everybody who's watching. And welcome to this session of our professional affiliates interview. On today's episode, we have a vibrant young entrepreneur from Africa who goes by the name Amanda. Right? I don't want to try to pronounce the last name because I just might butcher it.
Just the way you...
Amanda Sibiya.
Yes.
Okay, Amanda Sibiya. Welcome to this session, Amanda.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, real pleasure having you. I think I first heard you speak at the YALDA I Would Come. And of course, everybody there was stunned by the Beyonce of branding. So it's real good to have you here.
Yes, that's who I am.
All right. Before I preempt you as a person, I think I'll just allow you to introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, wow. That is, how does one introduce themselves? Well, my name is Amanda Sibiya, like you've already said. I go by the Beyonce of branding, also known as the Beyonce of branding, mainly because I've been in the branding industry for a long time and the language I sing in is branding. I've been doing it for a decade now. So it's been a cute little process. I'm an entrepreneur. I run a branding agency called Branding Africa and other organizations as well. But Branding Africa is one that is my main focus at the moment.
All right, amazing. So we'll get right into the interview. So my first question for you is, like I said in my preamble, Amanda happens to be an entrepreneur. So briefly, kindly tell us what your entrepreneurship journey has been like, how it started, with a focus on, I am of the understanding that you ran multiple businesses. Yeah. So I think first you can tell us about Branding Africa, and is it Conte Creatives Agency?
So
yes, please give us a brief background of how the journey has been with regards to those two entities.
Yeah, I mean, it's Conte Creative Agency is a company that I left 2018, actually. I sold my shares in it. So if I am going to speak about my entrepreneurial journey, like I said, I've been in it for a decade. So it's going to be a long story. So, you know, you take out your popcorn and we can just like listen to this long story.
Please, we have all the time.
So, I mean, my entrepreneurial journey started in 2014, where my business partner and I started Conte Creative Agency, you know, Conte magazine as well, subsequently as well. So it's been both of those companies. Conte magazine started 2015, while 2014 Conte Creative Agency started. And it was a creative agency that would do mainly, I think our main focus was just design for corporate businesses and corporate clients. And the Conte magazine was a creative portfolio magazine for artists across Africa, where, because we understood that there was a gap between business and arts, and those who were artists didn't know how to get into the business of it. So we bridged the gap between the two. But I left Conte in 2018 after, I mean, you know, businesses and business partners go through trials and tribulations. So I'd say that was the same. But I think it was also time to leave, because when your vision is not aligned anymore as business partners, it's time to kind of relook whether you want to still stay, you want to go, or you want to kind of merge or align those visions again. And then in 2018, I started a group of companies basically called Hadithi Africa Media Group. And Hadithi means story in Swahili. And that's what we do, is really we tell African stories. And I think my passion for that, I have a huge passion for the continent of Africa itself. Hence, each and every business that I start has Africa as a surname. So Hadithi Africa really is a media group that has different companies that is aimed at telling the African story. And Branding Africa is one of those businesses that is under that group. So at Branding Africa, we really are just passionate about building great African brands and also equipping African entrepreneurs to build great brands as well, because there's such a huge appetite for entrepreneurs and young people who are in the working age population in Africa who are starting businesses, but a lot of them fail in a very short space of time, and they fail for many reasons. It could be finances, resources, but others fail mainly because they don't know how to market, they don't know who the brand is, and they don't know how to properly articulate what they're trying to sell to the people who they're selling it to. So that's when we came to kind of, close that gap. And that's our niche in terms of helping Africans build good businesses that can compete in a global stage.
All right, amazing. So during your answer, I noted a few things, like you spoke to the designing agency, right?
Yeah.
And also you spoke to content creators. So I'm a content creator myself, so I do TikTok, and I know for Africa, one of our major challenges is that most content creator platforms or digital platforms cannot be monetized, right? So that's one challenge I would speak to with regards to being a creative. And so your companies or your ex-companies have worked with creatives. So what would you say are some of the challenges that you faced in establishing content creator companies and also the design agency?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge is starting, to be honest. I think a lot of people think that they are incapable, specifically Africans think that they don't have what it takes to start a business and grow it and sustain it. And I think for a lot of people and a lot of entrepreneurs that I know in my circle are people who didn't necessarily study business management, they don't have an MBA, they don't have like a business degree of sorts. And usually they start the business out of a passion. And sometimes, if not most of the time, it takes a long time for you to kind of monetize a passion because you love it so much. It's almost like getting money out of it. Even like you're saying, content creators monetizing content is something that comes over time. And I think the one thing that we have to learn to do is be consistent, and show up consistently, but show up authentically as well in everything that we do as a creative, whether it's a content creator, whether you are a business owner, an entrepreneur. Showing up consistently is the one thing that is the biggest challenge. And I think once you start, that's one thing, but also continuing is something that needs absolute tenacity, like absolute dedication as well is what you need in order to kind of continue building a business. But I think my biggest challenge was really starting, but also, keeping on and just keep going is another challenge. I think I don't want to say finances were a challenge because I was so passionate about what I was doing. I couldn't care about the money. Now I care about the money. But when I started, the passion was enough. Like the passion was like, I really want to do this. I really want to like change the world. And whether the money will come, I was of that view that the money will come. And I'm still of the view that the money will come. It's just, it took some time for it to come. So I think money was really not a challenge that I looked at in that way because the passion was enough for me at that time.
Yeah, so are you telling us the money is in now?
I'm not saying anything.
All right, thank you very much. So one of
it's not the
all right,
same.
all right. So one of your businesses is called Branding Africa, if I'm correct.
Yes, you're correct.
Yes, and Branding Africa basically looks at branding African businesses with the goal of achieving sustainable growth. So could you kindly share with us probably 2 or 3 success stories with regards to the same?
Well, I could tell you 100 success stories. But all of them, I think the one thing we sell is clarity. And when you're not clear on the vision that you're trying to do or clear on the goal you're trying to achieve in your business, you'll probably never achieve that goal. And having a vision is important, but having clarity in terms of how to even fulfill that vision is also as important. And I mean, even if I were to mention like a bigger brands in terms of what we've kind of worked on with them, I think every single brand that we've been able to interact with and work with, all of them have been because we've been able to clarify what they're trying to do. And I remember there's one business in particular, literally, we just had a workshop with her yesterday. And the problem is, a lot of businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs in South Africa, but also continentally, they know what they want to do. But it's all scrambled up in their mind, and they don't know how to articulate it to their customer so that they can make sales. So I think one of the big success stories is that being able to work with a brand almost for maybe 2 months or 3 months, and then being able to increase their sales because they can articulate what they're doing. And for me, it's like, if you don't know how to say what you're selling, you won't sell. So we try and make it as clear as possible by putting together clear strategies, putting together clear marketing strategies in order for you to be able to sell more. And even when it comes to people who have actual physical stores, or even if you're selling something like a service, it's very necessary and as important for you to know how to articulate what you're selling. Because if you can't tell someone, hey, I sell water, and also articulate the value that the water gives this person, you won't sell that water, whether they need it or not. So the clarity is exactly what we sell, which has increased sales for many businesses that we've worked with.
Right, amazing. Probably to just zero in on that very question, you spoke to the use of strategies to sort of increase the visibility of a brand, or in other words, drive traffic towards it, which is what I believe Branding Africa does. So could you highlight a few of those strategies that you use to drive traffic towards these brands that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, each business is very unique in the goals that they're trying to achieve. And one thing that I'd want like the world to know, really, I think when it comes to strategies, specifically if you want to use mainly social media or digital marketing as a tool to grow your business or to have more eyes on your business, that when your aim is for brand awareness, you should not expect sales, because your aim or your goal is, I want people to know about me. Will sales come as a result of that? Sure. But if ever your strategy or the goal for your strategy is to make sales, then obviously the strategies or the things that you would use in order to whether you use digital marketing or not will be clear on sales as opposed to awareness. So I think a lot of business owners assume that when people know about me, they'll immediately buy from me. That's incorrect. When people know about you, they'll know about you, full stop. If they know about you to a point where they are pushed to buy from you, then that's just the result of the awareness, but it's not always a direct sale. But if you want to sell, you need to sell, consistently and sell, what's the word, intentionally as well. If you want to sell something, sell it. Hey, I'm selling this water. Awareness says, hey, I started this water business because my community had lack of water, and that's awareness. Sales strategy is more of, I'm selling this water, it's $1 or whatever, however much per bottle, or for 6 bottles, buy this water, this is how to get it. That's more sales. And I think a lot of businesses assume that they will get sales from awareness. And I think in terms of putting together strategies, like your question is saying, your strategy needs to be clear according to whatever goal you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to achieve awareness, your strategies and the channels you use and the tools you use will be for awareness. But if your goal is sales, your KPIs should be saying sales. Everything you do will be geared towards sales. So strategy is very important to achieve any goal within your business, whether it be sales, whether it be awareness, whether it be advertising, marketing, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve within your business. It will not happen without a strategy and a plan to achieve it.
All right, thank you. I love that you spoke about digital marketing, because I think everybody understands that in this day and age, almost every brand sort of requires a digital footprint somehow. And when it comes to digital marketing, one of the vehicles that digital marketing uses to sort of forward brands is trends. So my question to you would be, how do you stay up to date with the trends, especially when it comes to social media? And are there any resources, if any, that help you to maintain or be up to date with those trends that you could use as a vehicle to drive brands?
Yeah. I think when it comes to branding, specifically digital marketing, and if you're looking at social media as a tool, trends, I want us to look at trends as like a two-pronged process in essence, because you could be talking about trends in a social media point of view, whereas this is the trending sound at the moment. This is the trending, TikTok at the moment. Those are specific to social media trends. But if you're talking about industry level trends, I wouldn't say AI is a trend, but you could say that AI is a trend. Using influencer marketing is a trend. So those ones are easier to stay in touch with. They're easier to not manage, but also be able to kind of see what is new on a day-to-day basis. The trends on social media, those change on a daily. But when it comes to industry wide trends, those are easier to not manage, but to stay on the loop, in the loop of, because there are companies and other resources that kind of foresee what the trends would be. Like, I think there are digital marketing agencies that take out trends, like a whole newsletter or a quarterly book on in a year, to say the trends to look out for 2024 or ABCD. So AI becomes one of them. Influencer marketing becomes another one. What to use, what not to use, because social media is also, you could say that's also a trend in itself. So I think it's important to see in whatever climate you are, whatever country you are, to see what the trends are, because you could never say that they are continental wide trends. There's no such thing, because you have to realize that each and every country has its separate, things that kind of trend. The political landscape is not the same, social landscape is not the same, so you can't expect for the digital marketing landscape to also be similar from country to country. So I think it's important to look at the country that you're in, and look at the organizations that kind of also publish trends that go on, or digital marketing trends to look forward to in a specific year or in a specific quarter.
All right. That's a lot of knowledge. I hope the people watching got their pens and papers, because I feel I'm getting educated every second I listen to you. So you mentioned in your preamble or your bio that all your businesses have the surname Africa, because that's the angle you're pushing. And that says to me that your career is sort of inclined towards a niche that requires you to keep learning, because Africa is evolving every day. So you have to keep learning about Africa and evolving with it so that you're effective in the marketplace. And so my question to you is, how do you remain inspired and motivated to keep learning and to keep pushing this agenda that you have started pushing?
I don't. I think when you're called to do something, it pushes you better than motivation would. Because motivation, it dies off. Motivation is almost like a matchstick fuse that will die in literally seconds. But when you're called to do something, it's almost like an everlasting flame within you that wakes you up on a daily basis, that says, okay, I know you're tired, but we still got to push this thing. So it's that calling, but also it's having a vision of not necessarily the life I want to live, but the legacy I want to leave behind. And my businesses give me the voice to be able to build that legacy that I'm looking at. And my legacy really is around being able to equip Africans to be the best that they can be, in whatever way possible that I can do that. So I think it's not a matter of staying motivated or what keeps me inspired. It really is, Africa is so beautiful in itself, and the people themselves inspire me. And I think we've got such great potential, and we've got such great ideas also. Like, we are the most resourceful people on this planet. And I think how we are so tenacious as a people inspires me on a daily to not give up, because those are the people who I'm doing it for. So knowing what I'm doing, why I'm doing what I'm doing, is one thing that continues to push me, but also the people in Africa who inspire me on a daily.
All right. And I love that you ended by speaking on the tone of inspiration, because my next question is really about mentorship. We all believe that for someone to be great, you have to sort of look up to the greats or the people that have gone before you. And so my question is, what's your view on the importance of mentorship in the entrepreneurship journey? And also, how do you factor in mentorship in your day-to-day activities as a person and as a brand?
Yeah, I think, how everyone talks about how therapy is important on a daily, just to, keep, because I think you have to look at it as, when you drive a car every single day, at some point it needs maintenance. At some point you need to change the oil. When you go to the petrol station, they're going to ask you, hey, should we take your tires? Should we take your water? Is everything fine? And that is everything fine is what a mentorship is, why it's important, because it keeps the car moving in a way that they can also assess, your engine is about to break down, I think you need to change that. This is supposed, and it's not to say that mentorship is only important in one sphere in your life. It's important in every sphere of your life. And I think having one mentor for your whole life is honestly, you're not going to get one person who can speak into every single pocket of your life. You'd need a mentor specific to your entrepreneurial journey. And you need a mentor specific to the industry you're playing in, because you might find someone who is a huge and a big successful entrepreneur, but they've never played in the industry that you've played in. So they can give you advice on an entrepreneurial point of view, but they could never give you advice on a branding point of view because they're not in the branding industry. So I think it's important not to ever have one mentor at a time. Like you could have one that stays, for the rest of your life. It's like, okay, this is my life mentor, life coach. You need one on the life point of view. You need one for your business. You need one for your entrepreneurial journey. I think in every single and each time you evolve also, I think your mentor should evolve with you. So I think it's the most important thing, because if you want to ever be in a position where you're mentoring others, you need to be someone who is mentored. You can't be a leader who can't be led either. And I see myself as a leader in my industry, a champion in my industry as well, but I cannot say and assume that I'm a leader, but I can't be led. And having a mentor is a form of leadership, or a form of me allowing someone else to lead me in certain things in my life as well.
All right, amazing. So I read in your bio somewhere that you are a Mandela Washington Fellowship alumni.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I've tried to get in quite a number of times and haven't had the opportunity. But my question is, what insights would you say you drew from that experience that have helped you in your entrepreneurial journey? And also, how has it influenced your work as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Well, that was like a beautiful experience. Firstly, I applied a couple of times, so I didn't get in the first time. So keep applying. I think, well, it's impacted my life so immensely. I think from a business point of view, and also from a life point of view as well, because when you go to the Mandela Washington Fellowship, you are in a room of new people altogether, but who are coming from different African countries, which is the most fascinating thing, because I think, especially if, let's say, you're coming from a point of view where you've never traveled outside of your country, you get to travel literally 8 other countries through the people who are in the room with you. And you get to understand why they started their businesses and the problems that exist within their businesses that they found an issue for, as well as business owners. But the one thing that it's impacted a lot in terms of my work is expanding my network outside of my country as well. So if I'm saying that within the fellowship, we had maybe 16 countries represented or 10 countries represented, I now have 10 countries that I can go work in, because I know someone who's an entrepreneur in those countries. I've gone on to do work in Rwanda. I've gone on to do work in Nairobi. Like, there are countries that I now do work in just because I met someone from the Mandela Washington Fellowship. So I think more than what you learn through the program, you get, your network is expanded literally immediately. The first time you're just in the room with those people, your network is expanded immediately, from only people in your country to people who are from literally 10 other countries. And that's the most beautiful thing, because I think it's so important to think outside of where you're from. And I think knowing all of those people has allowed me to do that as well.
All right. I thought you would close that with a cliche saying, your network is your net worth.
No.
Not today.
Maybe it is, but it is, it's true.
All right. So I'm told you've been recognized for your leadership and contribution to African heritage and culture. So amongst all these things, and also being busy, being a creative, and also being the Beyonce or branding, how do you balance these roles that have been placed on you, or that you've placed on yourself, with running multiple businesses?
I don't have a balance. I'm tiptoeing as it is. I don't think there's a thing called a work-life balance, even if it's a professional balance, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I'm still trying to find it till this day. There's so much that I'm doing in a day that I sometimes don't get time to breathe. Sometimes I cancel everything that I'm doing in a day because I just feel overwhelmed and I just need to sleep, you know? So as much as there's a lot of roles that I kind of take on, a lot of things that I do on a day-to-day basis, running a business, managing people, speaking at events and just doing interviews and like a lot of things in a day. There's no balance. I can't balance it, I just, not that I can't, but I think I take a day as it comes. I look at my calendar, I'm like, okay, this is too full. Let's remove one thing. Let's add one thing. It's really taking a day as it comes. And I can't say that I figured it out. I don't have the balance. I don't have the work-life balance cheat code. I don't have it. If someone else out there has it, please put it in the comments somewhere. But I just don't have that balance. I think I strive for it on a daily, but if I don't get the balance and if I'm not perfect at something, I'm okay with it. I think the older you get and the more you work within a specific field, you realize that if I miss a deadline, no one's going to die. And I'll do it tomorrow, like tomorrow's another day. And as much as we can't plan for the next day, I just take a day at a time, honestly, and just recognize that slow growth is still growth nonetheless. And just to celebrate the smaller things that you're able to do, and those you aren't able to do, you'll do them the next day.
Okay, does it follow therefore that you find yourself in positions where one venture is sort of limping because you've got so much to do and you have to try to balance and bring it up?
No, I think the one thing that I've been able to do successfully is building systems. And I think to run a successful business, you have to have systems, you have to have processes, but you have to document those processes as well. So I think what I've been able to do successfully is not forcing myself to be the last voice on each organization that I work in. So I'm not, I don't, and I think I remember one of my investors said around 2016 or so, and they said, when you want to grow build a growing business, you have to be okay with having a piece of a watermelon rather than a whole grape. And when you look at the ratio of the two, a watermelon is much bigger, a grape is literally small. So I much rather have just a slice of something that is bigger than the whole thing of something that is much smaller. So for me, giving away control from other organizations that I'm in is something that I've been able to do. I don't want to say easily, but able to do, because I recognize that in order for a business to grow, I'm not the only person who's going to do it. So there needs to be a team of people. There needs to be systems that run that help me grow the business even without me. So the reason why I'm saying that Branding Africa is at the forefront of my focus at the moment is because that's the one where my voice is the most important. Not that my voice is not important in the other ones, but it's not the most important. I've put systems in place and people in place who can continue running it that don't need me. But Branding Africa at the moment needs me until I come to a point where, like, okay, you know what? This child has grown enough. They are crawling, they are walking, they're eating solid foods. They can go to a nanny type of thing. So I think systems are important, processes are important. Documenting those processes are also just as important.
Awesome, awesome. So my last question for you is, what advice would you give a young entrepreneur from Africa who is just starting their journey? And also, what are the common pitfalls or errors that most entrepreneurs face on their journey, and how can they be aware of them, and how can they sort of overcome them?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake that African entrepreneurs make is being scared to share their idea because you're scared someone else is going to steal it. And not delegating. Like, the success of your business relies on delegating. It relies on you not thinking you're the only thing that business needs in order for it to succeed. Just because it's your grand idea, we're not saying your idea is not grand. Your idea is phenomenal, but you need to recognize that you're not everything you need for that business to succeed. And I think the biggest mistake we make is in being stuck in the planning phase. It's like, I need to plan this, I need to do that. You're writing down everything you need to do. You are being wary about sharing your idea with people, because you might realize that the people who you're sharing with might be the very resource you need in order to grow your business. So I think not being afraid to share your idea and not being afraid to delegate also, because I think for African entrepreneurs, more than anything, they create businesses to solve a stomach problem as opposed to solving a purpose problem. And I think we start businesses because I need to put bread on the table. And I honestly understand, because the unemployment rate in South Africa is staggering. So it makes sense. But I think we need to grow businesses or start businesses that actually solve a problem, that solve a continental problem, that people actually are looking for the solution. And I think there are a lot of businesses that are started because of a vain problem. It's like, oh, I have this problem, so I'm going to solve this problem. But make sure that you validate the problem that you are solving within your business. But I think my advice really to any young entrepreneurs to never stop, but also to make sure that you are doing it for a purpose, because when the motivation wears off, the purpose is going to keep you going. So do it because there's a purpose behind it, and not only because you are hungry and need to put bread on the table.
Right. As you were speaking, it just dawned on me that during the week, I have a friend of mine. He's an entrepreneur, and he's planning to relocate to the West or something. And he told me the reason why he's moving is because you can evolve in Africa, but he says there's a certain threshold that you can't supersede, and is leaving the continent so he can do that. So my question to you is, do you believe it's possible for African entrepreneurs to rise to continental heights and actually compete with Western and European countries?
Yeah, I think we're already doing it. It's not even, do I believe that we're capable? I think we're already doing it. There are businesses out there. And I think Rwanda and Kenya are so huge when it comes to any tech companies as well. Like the most and the hugest, also Nigeria has the hugest tech companies in the world, that have started. Like, you cannot tell me that there is a business that can like even compete with like the money market in East Africa itself. Like, are you telling me that mobile money is something that an American came up with? No, that idea came from Africa. And I don't think it's a matter of, do I think we can get to a point where we can compete in a global stage? We're already competing on a global stage. And I think it's necessary to emancipate our minds first, because I think when you're saying that he's reached a certain threshold, he's reached that threshold, not that Africa has reached that threshold. It's a mindset thing that you need to recognize that, sure, can you go to the West to learn certain things? Absolutely. But go learn them and come implement them back in Africa, in order for you to even break that glass ceiling. If you're saying that there is a glass ceiling for success in for an African entrepreneur, come back with everything that you've learned and break that glass ceiling for everyone else who comes behind you. So I think that threshold doesn't exist in the continent. It exists in the minds of people who are in the continent. So I think there is a need for rebranding, not Africa, but rebranding the minds of people in order for them to recognize that they can succeed even beyond the West world, in essence.
Right. I love that. Thank you very much for the answer. And we have come to the end of our interview for today. Thank you, Amanda, Sibiya, for joining us. Thank you for the insights that you've given us. I'm sure if there's an entrepreneur out there learning, they have definitely learned so much. I have learned so much, and I'm definitely going to implement everything. Thank you once more. And yeah, this is goodbye.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.